I discovered my sister Amber sneaking out of my bedroom at dawn, clutching a thick envelope. The same envelope containing $15,000 in cash that I had hidden under my mattress. Amber expected tears, screaming, maybe even a physical fight. Instead, I sat calmly on my bed and smiled, a knowing, almost satisfied smile that made Amber's confident smirk falter. "Thanks for making this easier," I whispered. Amber rushed out, confused but triumphant. 3 hours later, Dad's thunderous voice echoed through the house. "Where is your sister's college money?" The sound of Dad's work boots stomping across our hardwood floors made the entire house vibrate. I could hear picture frames rattling on the walls as he approached the living room, where Amber and I sat on opposite ends of our old sectional sofa. His face had turned that familiar shade of purple that meant someone was about to get the lecture of their lifetime. "Girls, I need to know right now where that $15,000 is," Dad demanded, his voice carrying the weight of exhaustion and desperation. "The money for Amber's college tuition. It's due in 2 days and I can't find the envelope anywhere." Amber's face drained of every ounce of color. Her confident morning smirk completely vanished as the reality of what she'd actually stolen began to sink in. She gripped the arm of the sofa so tightly, her knuckles turned white. "What envelope, Dad?" Amber managed to stammer, though her voice cracked on every syllable. "Don't play games with me, Amber Nicole," Dad said, using her full name in that tone that meant business. "The envelope I gave to Ginny 2 weeks ago for safekeeping, the money we've been saving for your spring semester tuition at State University." Mom appeared in the doorway, her eyes already red and puffy from crying. She was still wearing her waitress uniform from the diner where she worked the night shift. Her name tag hung crookedly, and coffee stains dotted her apron. "Tom, please tell me you found it," Mom pleaded, wringing her hands. "We can't lose that money, we can't." The weight of their words hit me like a freight train. 2 weeks ago, Dad had pulled me aside after dinner and explained the situation. This wasn't just any money. This was Amber's college fund that they had scraped together after she had already blown through 2 previous college funds on shopping sprees and impulsive purchases. "Honey, I need you to hide this somewhere safe," Dad had said, pressing the envelope into my hands. "Your sister has a history of finding money and spending it before thinking about consequences. This is our last shot at getting her education paid for." Dad had trusted me because I had never given them a reason not to. While Amber spent her teenage years sneaking out and maxing out credit cards, I had spent mine working part-time jobs and earning scholarship money. They knew I understood the value of every single dollar. Now, watching my parents' faces crumble as they waited for answers, I felt the full weight of what Amber had done. This wasn't stolen birthday money or allowance cash. This was money that represented months of sacrifice. "We liquidated my entire retirement account," Dad continued, his voice breaking. "Your mother sold her grandmother's jewelry. We took a second mortgage on the house. This money represents everything we have left, girls. Everything." Mom collapsed into the recliner, sobbing openly now. "I haven't bought new clothes in 8 months. We've been eating pasta and canned soup for dinner because we were putting every penny toward Amber's education. We believed in her future." Amber shifted uncomfortably on the sofa, stealing glances at me. I could see the panic building behind her eyes as she realized the magnitude of her mistake. She had thought she was stealing from me, taking money I had earned from my weekend catering job. She had no idea she was stealing her own future. "I need both of you to look me in the eyes and tell me you don't know where that money is," Dad said, his voice steady but dangerous. Amber opened her mouth to lie. I could see it forming on her lips. The same type of lie she had told countless times before when caught in situations she couldn't talk her way out of. "I don't know anything about any envelope," Amber said, but her voice wavered with uncertainty. That's when I decided to reveal my first card. I calmly pulled out my phone and opened my photo gallery. 3 pictures I had taken at 5:30 this morning when I heard footsteps in my room. "Actually, I do know where it is," I said, turning my phone screen toward our parents, "and I have proof of who took it." The first photo showed Amber's hand reaching under my mattress. The second showed her pulling out the envelope. The third showed her face clearly visible as she counted the money with a satisfied grin. Mom gasped. Dad's face turned from purple to bright red. "Amber Elizabeth, you have exactly 30 seconds to explain yourself," Dad said, his voice dropping to that whisper, quiet tone that was somehow scarier than yelling. Amber broke down completely. Tears streamed down her face as she realized there was no way to lie her way out of this situation. "I thought it was Ginny's money," Amber sobbed. "I thought she was saving up for something stupid and I could just borrow it and pay her back later. I didn't know it was for college. I swear I didn't know." "Where is the money now?" Mom asked, her voice hollow with defeat. Amber couldn't meet their eyes. "I spent some of it. Well, maybe most of it. But I can get it back. I can fix this." Dad sat heavily on the coffee table, putting his head in his hands. "How much is left, Amber?" "I can get it all back," Amber repeated, but she couldn't answer his direct question. "Your father asked you a specific question," Mom said, her voice gaining strength through her anger. "How much money is left?" Amber whispered something so quietly we couldn't hear her. "Speak up," Dad demanded. $700, Amber admitted, causing Mom to let out a sound somewhere between a gasp and a wail. $14,300, gone, in less than 24 hours. Dad stood up slowly, his whole body shaking with controlled rage. "Your mother and I are leaving for work now. When we come home at 6 o'clock tonight, that money better be sitting on the kitchen table. All of it. I don't care how you get it back, but you figure it out." As our parents gathered their things and headed toward the door, Amber turned to me with desperate eyes. "Ginny, please don't show them those pictures. Please help me figure out how to get the money back. I'm begging you." I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and felt something I had never felt before. Complete and total emotional detachment. For years, I had been watching her make mistake after mistake, always expecting someone else to clean up her messes. This time was different. "Tell me exactly where every single dollar went, Amber, and don't lie to me. Because if I find out you're not telling me the truth, I'm going to show Mom and Dad a lot more than just those pictures." Amber sat curled up in the corner of the sofa, mascara streaked down her cheeks, finally ready to confess the truth about her 24-hour spending spree. But as the words tumbled out of her mouth, I realized the situation was far worse than anyone could have imagined. "I went to the mall yesterday morning," Amber began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I told myself I was just going to window shop, maybe buy a new lipstick or something small." "But you had $14,000 in cash," I pointed out. "You don't accidentally spend that kind of money on lipstick." Amber flinched at my tone. "I ran into Tyler at the food court. He was with his friends, you know, the ones from the community college. They were talking about this party they were planning for the weekend. Tyler." I had been hoping his name wouldn't come up in this conversation, but of course it had. Tyler Henderson was everything wrong with Amber's life wrapped up in a 6-foot-tall package with bleached hair and an attitude problem. Tyler mentioned that his gaming setup was broken and he couldn't afford to replace it before the party, Amber continued. All his friends were talking about how they needed new clothes and shoes for some exclusive event they were planning. I just wanted to help. "Help with what, exactly?" I asked, though I was beginning to understand the scope of her stupidity. Tyler said if he had a better gaming system, he could host the party at his apartment instead of at his ex-girlfriend's place. He said Madison always made him feel small because she had money and he didn't. I thought if I could help him out, he would finally see that I'm better for him than she is. The pieces of Amber's pathetic puzzle were falling into place. Tyler had been dating our sister for 3 months, but he had never made it official. He still spent most of his time with his ex-girlfriend Madison, who came from a wealthy family and enjoyed flaunting her money. Amber had been desperately trying to compete for Tyler's attention ever since they met. "So you bought him a gaming system," I said, though I suspected there was much more to the story. A really good one, Amber admitted. The guy at the electronics store said it was top of the line. $3,000 for the computer, monitor, keyboard, and headset. Tyler was so excited when I surprised him with it. He hugged me right there in the store. $3,000. Almost a quarter of the college fund, spent in a single moment of desperation for a boy's attention. What about the other $11,000, Amber? Tyler's friend Derek mentioned he needed new sneakers for the party. Really nice ones, the kind that cost like $500. So I bought him a pair. Then his friend Marcus said he wanted a designer hoodie to match Derek's shoes. So I got him one too. And Jake needed a leather jacket because his girlfriend was bringing her rich friends to the party. I stared at my sister in complete disbelief. You spent thousands of dollars buying gifts for Tyler's friends? People you barely know? I thought they would accept me, Amber whispered. They always made jokes about me being broke and not being able to keep up with their lifestyle. Tyler would laugh along with them, and it hurt so much. I wanted to prove that I belonged in their group. How much did you spend on his friends? $2,000 each. Derek got the sneakers and a matching jacket. Marcus got the hoodie and some expensive jeans. Jake got the leather jacket and a gold chain. $6,000 on 3 strangers who had never shown my sister anything but contempt. I was beginning to understand why I had smiled when I caught her stealing the money. Somewhere deep in my subconscious, I had known she would do exactly this. That's $9,000, Amber. Where did the rest go? Amber's sobbing intensified. Tyler said he needed to make things right with Madison before the party. He said she was still angry about their breakup and might cause drama if he didn't smooth things over. He asked me to help him buy her a peace offering. You bought his ex-girlfriend a gift? I said, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. A purse. A really expensive designer purse that she had been wanting for months. Tyler said if he could give it to her as an apology gift, she would be happy and wouldn't ruin the party for everyone. It cost $4,000. $13,000. Spent on a boy who didn't love her and his friends, who didn't respect her, including a gift for the ex-girlfriend who was still in the picture. And the party, Amber? The party you spent $13,000 to be included in? Did Tyler invite you? Amber's silence was answer enough. He took all the gifts, didn't he? And then told you the party was exclusive. He said maybe next time, Amber whispered. He said I had been so generous that he wanted to make sure the party was perfect before including me in his social circle. He promised we would hang out just the two of us this weekend instead. And Madison, how did she react to the purse? She posted pictures of it on Instagram with the caption, "Thanks, babe, for the early birthday gift." She tagged Tyler in the post. All his friends liked it and commented about how cute they looked together. The final piece of Amber's humiliation fell into place. Tyler had used her money to buy back his ex-girlfriend's affection while publicly humiliating my sister in the process. He had essentially made Amber pay for his reunion with Madison. Amber, please tell me you see what happened here, I said, though I could tell from her expression that she was still making excuses for Tyler's behavior. He's just confused about his feelings, Amber said. Madison has been manipulating him for months. Once he realizes how much better I am for him, things will change. Tyler used you, I said bluntly. He manipulated you into spending $14,000 so he could impress his friends and win back his ex-girlfriend. You paid for your own humiliation. That's not true, Amber protested, but her voice lacked conviction. When was the last time Tyler took you on a real date? When was the last time he introduced you to his family? Has he ever posted a picture of you two together on social media? Amber couldn't answer any of those questions because we both knew Tyler had never treated her like a real girlfriend. She had been convenient when he needed something, but invisible when he didn't. I'm going to get the money back, Amber said, though she sounded like she was trying to convince herself more than me. Tyler will understand when I explain the situation. He'll help me return everything. Amber, he spent your money to buy his way back into Madison's good graces. Do you really think he's going to give up the gaming system that's probably already set up in his apartment? Do you think his friends are going to return clothes they've probably already worn? And that purse? Madison has already posted pictures wearing it. She's not giving it back. The truth was finally sinking in. Amber had been played by Tyler and his entire social circle. They had seen her desperation to fit in and had exploited it for their own gain. Now she was left with $700 and the devastating realization that she had destroyed her family's financial future for people who didn't care about her at all. "We have to try," Amber said. "I have to at least try to get some of it back. Maybe Tyler will help me if I explain how serious this is." I looked at my sister and felt a mixture of pity and frustration. Even after everything that had happened, she was still hoping Tyler would rescue her. She still believed that somewhere inside him was a decent person who would do the right thing. "All right, Amber, let's go talk to Tyler. But I'm coming with you, and I'm going to record everything he says, because I have a feeling you're about to learn something very important about the person you've been trying so hard to impress." Before we left for Tyler's apartment, I knew I had to show Amber the full extent of what her pattern of irresponsible behavior had cost our family. I led her upstairs to my bedroom and opened my closet door, pushing aside hanging clothes to reveal a cardboard file box hidden behind my winter coats. "What's this?" Amber asked as I pulled the box onto my bed. "This is 3 years of documentation," I said, opening the lid to reveal dozens of receipts, bank statements, and handwritten notes. "Every time you've made a financial mistake, every time I've had to cover for you, every sacrifice I've made to keep this family from falling apart." I pulled out the first folder, labeled "Car Accident Junior Year. Remember when you crashed Dad's pickup truck into Mrs. Patterson's fence?" I asked, spreading the paperwork across my bedspread. "You told Mom and Dad that a deer ran into the road and you swerved to avoid it. But I knew you had been texting while driving because you called me crying about Tyler not responding to your messages." Amber's eyes widened as she saw the repair estimates and insurance paperwork. "How did you get all this?" The insurance deductible was $1,500, money our parents didn't have because Dad had just been laid off from the construction company. 2022. "You begged me not to tell them the truth about the texting because you were afraid they would take away your phone and car privileges." I showed her the bank withdrawal slips from my savings account. "I paid the deductible with money I had earned working at the movie theater, 60 hours a week during summer break, making $7.25 an hour. It took me almost 3 months to save that much money." Amber picked up the receipt, her hands shaking. "Ginny, I never knew you paid for this. I thought insurance covered everything." "You never asked," I replied, pulling out the second folder, "Credit card debt senior year." This folder was thicker, filled with credit card statements and payment confirmations. $2,400 charged to a credit card you got by lying about your income on the application. Designer clothes, expensive dinners, concert tickets for you and Tyler. I spread out the statements showing purchases at high-end stores, restaurants I could never afford to eat at, and entertainment expenses that cost more than I made in a month. When the credit card company started calling the house, you panicked and came to me for help. You said if Mom and Dad found out, they would make you get a job and stop focusing on your studies. Amber was crying again as she looked at the evidence of her spending spree. "I was going to pay it back." "With what money?" I asked. "You've never held a job for more than 2 weeks. I worked double shifts at the movie theater and picked up weekend catering gigs to pay off this debt. It took me 6 months. The third folder made Amber gasp when she saw the label. Loan Sharks, sophomore year college. This was the worst one, I said, my voice growing harder. You got involved with some pyramid scheme investment opportunity. Multi-level marketing nonsense that promised you could make thousands of dollars selling beauty products to your friends. I showed her the threatening letters and payment demands. You borrowed $5,000 from Tony Marconi to buy your starter inventory. When the business didn't work out and you couldn't pay him back, he started charging you interest at 20% per week. Amber's face went pale. I remember Tony, but I thought you just talked to him and he agreed to forget about the debt. I worked 3 jobs for 6 months to pay Tony back, I said. Movie theater, catering company, and weekend dog walking. I was making payments to a loan shark while you were pledging a sorority and going to fraternity parties. I pulled out my work schedules from that period, showing 7-day weeks with no breaks. I was working 70 hours a week and taking a full course load at community college. I had to drop 2 classes because I couldn't keep up with the workload. The 4th folder contained the most heartbreaking evidence: medical bills and stress-related expenses for our parents. Mom's health problems started 2 years ago, I explained. High blood pressure, anxiety attacks, insomnia. Dad started getting headaches and his hair began turning gray almost overnight. I showed Amber the prescription receipts and doctor's visit bills. They never told you because they didn't want to worry you during your college years. But the financial stress of constantly covering your mistakes has been destroying their health. Mom's anxiety medication costs $300 a month because our insurance doesn't cover it. $300 a month. Dad's blood pressure medication is another $200. I've been helping with those payments too. Amber sank onto my bed, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what I was showing her. Why didn't anyone tell me any of this? Because I asked them not to, I admitted. Every time you got into financial trouble, you would cry and promise to change. You would talk about how hard college was and how you just needed time to get your life together. I convinced Mom and Dad to let me handle your mistakes so you could focus on your education. I pulled out the final folder, the one that contained my own sacrificial dreams. Nursing school, deferred applications. Inside were acceptance letters to 3 different nursing programs, all marked with deferral requests. I've been accepted to nursing school 4 different times, I said. Each time, I've had to defer my enrollment because I couldn't afford tuition. Every dollar I've earned for the past 3 years has gone toward covering your mistakes or helping keep this family financially stable. Amber stared at the acceptance letters, finally understanding the scope of my sacrifice. You've given up your own education for me. Last year, I was awarded a partial scholarship to the nursing program at State University, the same school you attend. I would have been a sophomore now, probably on track to graduate next year. Instead, I've been working jobs that don't require a college degree while you've been pledging sororities and dating boys who don't respect you. I showed her my current financial records demonstrating how every paycheck went toward family expenses. This is why I smiled when I caught you stealing the money, Amber, because I finally had proof that our parents needed to see who you really are. I'm tired of being your financial safety net. The weight of 3 years of secrets was finally in the open. Amber could see exactly how much her irresponsible behavior had cost our entire family. Not just in money, but in dreams, health, and opportunities. Dad's retirement account, I continued, the one he liquidated for your college fund. That wasn't just about paying your tuition. 1/3 of that money went to pay off debts you created that our parents still don't know about. Mom's jewelry that she sold, her grandmother's engagement ring and the pearl necklace from her mother, she sold those to cover the loan shark payments that I couldn't handle on my own anymore. Amber was sobbing uncontrollably now, finally understanding that her actions had consequences far beyond her own life. I'm so sorry, Ginny. I had no idea. I never meant for any of this to happen. The college fund you stole yesterday wasn't just your education money, I said. It was our family's last financial resource. If you don't get that money back, Mom and Dad will lose the house to the second mortgage they took out. I closed all the folders and put them back in the box. This ends now, Amber. I'm not covering for you anymore. Our parents deserve to know the truth about where their money has been going, and you need to learn what it feels like to face the consequences of your choices. As we prepared to leave for Tyler's apartment, Amber finally understood that this wasn't just about $14,000. This was about 3 years of lies, sacrifices, and the slow destruction of our family's financial foundation. And I was done protecting her from the truth. As we walked to my car, I pulled out my phone and showed Amber something that would shock her even more than the financial documents, a group text conversation that had been ongoing for the past 6 months. Who are all these people? Amber asked, looking at the contact names on my screen. Our family's support network, I said. People who care about us and have been watching this situation unfold for years. The group chat included Aunt Patricia, our dad's older sister who lived in Portland, Oregon, Mrs. Martinez, Mom's best friend from the diner who had become like a second mother to both of us, Pastor Williams from First Baptist Church, where our family attended Sunday services, and the Johnsons, our next-door neighbors, who had watched us grow up. They've all been helping me document your behavior patterns and plan an intervention, I explained as I scrolled through months of messages. Everyone in this group has been affected by your financial irresponsibility in some way. I showed Amber a message from 3 weeks ago where I had told the group about Dad giving me the college money to hide. Ginny, Dad just asked me to keep Amber's tuition money safe. He's worried she'll find it and spend it like last time. Aunt Patricia, smart move. That girl needs to learn consequences. Mrs. Martinez, your mama is so stressed about money. She's been losing weight from worry. Pastor Williams, perhaps it's time for some tough love and honest conversations. Johnsons, we've seen the pattern too. Happy to help however we can. Aunt Patricia has been planning to fly out here for weeks, I said, showing Amber the airline confirmation. She's arriving tonight at 8:30. Tomorrow morning we're having a family meeting where everything comes out in the open. Amber looked panicked. Ginny, you can't tell everyone our business. This is family stuff. It became everyone's business when your mistakes started affecting the people who care about us, I replied. Mrs. Martinez has been covering extra shifts at the diner so she could lend Mom money for groceries. The Johnsons have been quietly helping Dad with yard work because he's been too exhausted from working 2 jobs. I scrolled to a message thread from last month that showed the extent of community support our family had been receiving without Amber knowing. Mrs. Martinez, brought your mama some leftover soup from the diner. She's getting too thin. Johnsons, left a bag of garden vegetables on your porch. Told your dad they were extras. Pastor Williams, the church discreetly covered your family's utility bills last month through our assistance fund. Everyone has been helping us survive your financial disasters, I said. They know about Tyler's manipulation. They know about your spending habits, and they're tired of watching our parents suffer in silence. I showed Amber a video file in my phone that she hadn't known existed. Remember the family barbecue last month when Tyler came over for dinner? The video showed Tyler talking to his friend Derek on the phone while standing in our backyard. Our dad was grilling burgers, unaware that Tyler was making plans that would humiliate Amber. Yeah, she's totally hooked on me, Tyler's voice said clearly in the recording. I can get her to buy me whatever I want. Her family has money, but they're too stupid to see what's happening. I'm thinking about asking for a new car next month. Derek's laughter could be heard through the phone speaker. Dude, you should film her crying when you ignore her. That would be hilarious content. Already doing it, Tyler replied. I've got hours of video of her begging me to spend time with her. It's pathetic, but entertaining. Amber stared at the phone in horror. He was recording me? Mrs. Martinez filmed this through her kitchen window, I explained. She could see Tyler from her house and thought his behavior was suspicious. She was right. I scrolled to another message thread showing how the adults had been coordinating their response to Tyler's presence in our lives. Pastor Williams, that young man is trouble. I've seen his type before. Aunt Patricia, someone needs to open Amber's eyes before he destroys her completely. Mrs. Martinez, I have evidence of him bragging about using her for money. Johnsons, we're ready to support whatever intervention you plan. Everyone has been waiting for the right moment to confront this situation, I said. They didn't want to interfere too early because they hoped you would figure out Tyler's true nature on your own. But when you started stealing from the family, they all agreed it was time to act. I showed Amber a message I had sent to the group yesterday morning after catching her with the money. Ginny, she took the bait, stole the college fund this morning. Time to execute the plan. Aunt Patricia, flight booked, arriving tonight. Mrs. Martinez, I'll talk to her parents about the full truth. Pastor Williams, church meeting room reserved for tomorrow's intervention. Johnson's, we'll be there to provide witness testimony about what we've observed. This wasn't an accident, Amber. We knew you would likely steal that money because you've never been able to resist taking what isn't yours when you need cash for Tyler. Amber was quiet for a long moment, processing the fact that multiple adults had been watching her behavior and planning a coordinated response. You set me up. We gave you an opportunity to make the right choice, I corrected. You could have left that money alone and proved everyone wrong about your character. Instead, you did exactly what we expected you to do. I showed her the final thread of messages that had been sent this morning. Aunt Patricia, landing at 8:30 tonight, ready to have some difficult conversations. Mrs. Martinez, I'll bring 3 years of documentation about the family's financial struggles. Pastor Williams, prepared to discuss accountability, consequences, and redemption. Johnson's, we have security camera footage of multiple incidents if needed. Tomorrow morning, you're going to sit in a room with people who love this family and hear the truth about how your behavior has affected everyone. Aunt Patricia is bringing her own documentation of the money she's secretly sent to help keep us afloat. Mrs. Martinez is bringing records of all the times she's helped Mom with groceries and bills. Pastor Williams is bringing information about the church assistance fund that's been supporting us. The Johnsons are bringing security footage that shows Tyler's friends laughing about you in our driveway. Amber realized that her entire support system had been quietly documenting her destructive behavior and coordinating a response. She wasn't just facing consequences from our immediate family anymore. She was facing accountability from an entire community of people who'd been affected by her choices. Everyone is tired of watching you destroy yourself and hurt the people around you, I said as we reached my car. Tomorrow's meeting isn't about punishment. It's about finally telling you the truth and giving you a chance to take responsibility for your actions. But first, we're going to Tyler's apartment, and you're going to see exactly what kind of person you've been sacrificing your family's financial security for. Tyler's apartment complex was a run-down collection of 2-story buildings with peeling paint and broken porch lights. We climbed the stairs to apartment C14, where bass, heavy music was already pounding through the thin walls at 2 p.m. Amber knocked on the door, her hands shaking with nervous energy. Tyler, it's me, Amber. I really need to talk to you. The music stopped, and we heard footsteps approaching the door. When it opened, Tyler appeared wearing the expensive gaming headset that Amber had bought him the day before. But he wasn't alone. Standing behind him, wearing the $4,000 designer purse like it was a casual accessory, was Madison Peterson. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her makeup was flawless, and she was looking at Amber with an expression of amused contempt. "Hey, babe," Tyler said, not to Amber, but to Madison. "Look who decided to show up." Madison stepped forward, positioning herself slightly in front of Tyler in a gesture that clearly marked her territory. "Oh, it's Tyler's little ATM," she said with a laugh that sounded like breaking glass. "What brings you to our place?" "Your place?" Amber stammered, looking confused. "I moved back in last night," Madison explained casually. "Tyler realized he missed me too much to stay broken up. Isn't that right, baby?" Tyler wrapped his arm around Madison's waist and pulled her close. "Madison and I worked out our differences. Thanks for helping me buy the right apology gifts." The color drained from Amber's face as the reality of the situation hit her. "Tyler, I need to talk to you privately. It's really important." "Anything you need to say to me, you can say in front of Madison," Tyler replied. "We don't have secrets from each other." Madison held up the designer purse and admired it in the afternoon light. "This purse really is gorgeous, Tyler. You have such good taste. It must have cost you a fortune." "Actually," Tyler said with a smirk, "it didn't cost me anything." I stepped forward, pulling out my phone and starting to record. "Amber needs those gifts returned, Tyler. All of them. Right now." Tyler and Madison both laughed at the same time, a coordinated sound that made my skin crawl. Returned? Madison said. Why would we return gifts that Tyler bought for us? Because they weren't gifts, Amber said, finding her voice. I bought those things with money that didn't belong to me. I need them back. Tyler leaned against the doorframe, clearly enjoying Amber's desperation. That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. You gave me those things voluntarily. No one forced you to spend your money. It wasn't my money, Amber said, her voice cracking. It was my college fund. My parents are going to lose their house if I don't get it back. Madison gasped dramatically, pressing her hand to her chest in mock sympathy. Oh no, the poor little rich girl might have consequences for her actions. How tragic. We're not rich, Amber protested. My family has been struggling financially for years. That money represented everything they had saved. Then maybe you shouldn't have been so eager to buy your way into our friend group, Tyler said. That's not our fault. I stepped closer to Tyler, still recording everything. Where's the gaming equipment she bought you? Tyler gestured toward his living room, where I could see the expensive computer setup running on a large monitor. Right where it belongs, in my apartment. She needs it back, I said firmly. Too bad, Tyler replied. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Besides, I already sold the original parts to make room for the new setup. Madison pulled out her phone and showed us her Instagram feed. Look at all the likes I'm getting on my purse posts. My followers love my style. Tyler has such good taste in accessories. The posts showed Madison posing with the purse in various locations around town. Each photo had hundreds of likes and comments praising her expensive taste. She had been flaunting Amber's desperation for social media content. What about your friends? Amber asked Tyler. The clothes and shoes I bought for Derek, Marcus, and Jake. Tyler's smirk got wider. Funny thing about that, they sold everything immediately and split the cash with me. We made about $6,000 profit by reselling your gifts at the sneaker consignment shop and designer clothing store. He pulled out his wallet and showed us the thick stack of bills inside. Thanks for funding our spring break trip to Cabo. Madison and I are leaving next week. Madison took a selfie with the cash visible in the background. This is going to be such a great vacation, all expenses paid by Tyler's generous sugar mama. The casual cruelty of their words hit Amber like physical blows. She had spent $14,000 trying to buy acceptance and love, only to find out that Tyler and his friends had immediately converted her gifts into cash for their own entertainment. Tyler, please, Amber begged. I'll do anything. I'll work for you. I'll pay you back with interest. Just please help me get some of that. Money back. That's when Tyler revealed the most devastating part of his betrayal. Oh, I almost forgot, he said, pulling out his own phone. You should probably know that I've been documenting our entire relationship for social media content. He opened his TikTok account and showed us video after video of Amber crying, begging for his attention, and desperately trying to buy his affection. The captions were cruel and humiliating. Girl thinks money can buy love with a video of Amber crying outside Tyler's apartment. When your sugar mama gets too clingy, with footage of Amber leaving gifts on Tyler's doorstep. Free money hack. Find a desperate girl. With a compilation of Amber's most vulnerable moments. Each video had thousands of views and hundreds of comments mocking Amber's appearance, desperation, and obvious emotional pain. Madison scrolled through the comments, reading them out loud with obvious enjoyment. Pathetic. She's so ugly, why doesn't she get the hint? Imagine being this desperate for a man's attention. You've been humiliating me online for months, Amber whispered, her voice barely audible. Content is content, Tyler said with a shrug. My followers love drama. Your desperation has been great for my engagement rates. Madison showed us her own social media accounts, where she had been posting behind the scenes content about Tyler's side project. She'd been filming Amber's humiliation from her perspective, treating my sister's emotional pain like entertainment. The best part, Madison continued, is that she paid for her own humiliation. She literally funded the technology Tyler uses to make fun of her online. I had seen enough. Tyler, you have two choices. You can return the money and equipment voluntarily, or I can show this recording to your community college administration, your job supervisor, and your probation officer. Tyler's confident expression faltered for the first time. My probation officer? I know about your conviction for fraud last year, I said, though I was bluffing based on rumors I had heard. I know you're not supposed to be accepting large cash gifts or engaging in schemes to defraud people of money. Madison looked at Tyler with sudden concern. You're on probation. You told me that case was dismissed. Tyler's face turned red with anger. You don't know what you're talking about. I know enough, I said. And I know that your probation officer would be very interested in seeing videos of you bragging about manipulating a young woman out of $14,000. For the first time since we had arrived, Tyler looked genuinely worried, but instead of backing down, he became aggressive. If you cause problems for me, I'll post every embarrassing video I have of your sister online. I'll make sure everyone in this town knows how pathetic and desperate she really is. That's when I revealed my final card. Actually, Tyler, I think you should know that several adults in our community have been documenting your behavior for months. Your threats and manipulation tactics are already well documented. I showed him a photo of Mrs. Martinez's recording from our backyard barbecue. This is you bragging about exploiting my sister for money. There are adults who have been building a case against you. Tyler and Madison exchanged worried glances. They were beginning to realize that Amber hadn't come alone to this confrontation. There were consequences waiting for their behavior. Keep the money, I said finally. Keep the equipment. Keep your humiliating videos. But understand that your actions have been documented by multiple witnesses, and there are people who are prepared to make sure you face appropriate consequences. As we walked back to my car, Amber was sobbing quietly. She had finally seen Tyler's true character, but the price of that knowledge was the complete destruction of her family's financial security. The drive home was silent except for Amber's occasional sniffles. She now understood that she hadn't just been naive about Tyler's feelings for her. She had been the victim of a calculated scheme to exploit her desperation for acceptance and love. But more importantly, she had learned that her poor judgment and impulsive decisions had real consequences that extended far beyond her own life. Our family's future was at stake, and Tyler wasn't going to help her fix the damage she had caused. When we arrived home, I led Amber directly to First National Bank on Main Street. She looked confused as I pulled into the parking lot, but she followed me inside without asking questions. I'd like to access my savings account, please, I told the teller, handing over my identification and account information. Amber watched in stunned silence as the teller printed out my account balance and handed me a withdrawal slip. The number at the bottom of the page made her gasp out, loud. $18,467, the teller confirmed. How much would you like to withdraw today? Nothing today, I said, showing the paper to Amber. I just wanted my sister to see something important. We sat in my car outside the bank while Amber stared at the account statement in disbelief. You have enough money to replace what I stole, she said finally. I do, I confirmed. This represents 2 years of extreme financial sacrifice. I sold my car and have been riding the bus to work for 8 months. I've been working 3 jobs simultaneously and eating nothing but ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches for most meals. I showed Amber my work schedule on my phone. Movie theater Thursday through Sunday, catering company Monday and Tuesday, dog walking service Wednesday mornings, and freelance bookkeeping for small businesses in my spare time. I wake up at 5 in the morning and don't get home until 11 at night most days. I haven't bought new clothes in over a year. I haven't been to a movie or out to dinner with friends since high school. Every dollar I earn goes into this account. Amber looked at the bank statement again. Why haven't you replaced the college money already? Because replacing the money without addressing the underlying problem would be enabling your destructive behavior, I said. If I pay for your mistake this time, you'll never learn to take responsibility for your actions." I pulled out a folder containing papers I had prepared over the past few weeks. "This is a detailed plan for you to earn back the money yourself." The first page outlined employment opportunities I had already arranged through my network of contacts. "Mrs. Martinez has agreed to hire you at her cleaning business, 20 hours per week at $15 an hour. That's $300 per week. The Johnsons need help with their landscaping company, $300 per week. 25 hours per week at $12 an hour. That's $300 more per week. I've spoken to Pastor Williams about the church's daycare center. They need an assistant on weekends, 10 hours per week at $10 an hour. That's another $100. The math was clearly laid out on the second page. $700 per week means you can earn back the $14,000 you spent in 20 weeks, 5 months of consistent work. Amber studied the employment plan, realizing I had put serious thought and effort into creating a realistic path for her to fix her mistake. "But I'm in school," she protested. "I can't work 60 hours a week and maintain my grades." "Then you'll need to make some difficult choices about your priorities," I said. "Mrs. Martinez's business operates evenings and weekends. The Johnsons work early mornings and Saturdays. The daycare needs help on Sunday mornings. You can structure your class schedule around these jobs if education is truly important to you." The third page of my plan addressed the deeper issue of financial responsibility. "I've arranged for you to meet with a financial counselor every Wednesday evening. Jennifer Walsh specializes in helping young adults develop healthy money management skills and recognize manipulative financial relationships. You'll also attend weekly sessions with Pastor Williams focusing on accountability, personal growth, and making amends for past mistakes." Amber was beginning to understand that my plan was about much more than just earning back money. It was a comprehensive program designed to address the character flaws that had led to her financial irresponsibility. "What about Tyler?" she asked. "What if he keeps posting those humiliating videos?" "That's where Aunt Patricia comes in," I said, showing her messages from our group chat. "She's a paralegal with experience in cyber harassment cases. She's already been researching Tyler's legal vulnerabilities." I scrolled to Aunt Patricia's research notes. "Posting videos of someone without their consent for the purpose of humiliation can constitute cyber harassment in our state, especially when the person posting the videos has financially exploited the victim. Tyler's probation status makes him particularly vulnerable to legal consequences. If he escalates his harassment, Aunt Patricia is prepared to contact his probation officer and provide evidence of his predatory behavior." The fourth page of my plan contained the hardest part for Amber to accept. "I'm also giving our parents this letter tomorrow morning," I said, showing her a sealed envelope. "It contains a complete record of every financial mistake you've made over the past 3 years and every time I've covered for you. This letter explains why Mom's health has been deteriorating, why Dad's been working 2 jobs, and why I've been deferring my own education. They deserve to know the truth." Amber's hands were shaking as she held the letter. "They'll be devastated." "They'll be hurt," I agreed, "but they'll also finally understand why their financial situation has been so unstable despite their hard work and sacrifices, and they'll be able to make informed decisions about how to handle your future mistakes." The final page contained my personal boundaries and expectations. "I will no longer cover any of your financial mistakes," I read aloud. "I will no longer lie to our parents about your behavior. I will no longer sacrifice my own goals and dreams to enable your irresponsible choices. If you complete this work plan successfully and earn back the $14,400, I will match that amount with my own savings to fully restore the college fund. But if you quit any of these jobs, miss any counseling sessions, or create any new financial problems, I will immediately give this letter to our parents and step back completely." Amber was crying as she realized the full scope of what I was offering and requiring. "You're giving me a chance to fix this myself," she said. "I'm giving you an opportunity to prove that you can take Responsibility for your actions and work toward rebuilding the trust you've destroyed, I corrected. But this is your last chance, Amber. If you waste this opportunity, you'll face the consequences completely on your own. I showed her the business cards for all the people who would be supporting her through this process. Mrs. Martinez, the Johnsons, Pastor Williams, Jennifer Walsh, the financial counselor, and Aunt Patricia. Everyone is willing to help you succeed, but only if you demonstrate genuine commitment to changing your behavior. The drive home was quiet as Amber processed everything I had presented. She was beginning to understand that her choices had consequences not just for herself, but for everyone who loved her. And for the first time in her life, she was being asked to take full responsibility for fixing the problems she had created. "When do I start?" she asked as we pulled into our driveway. "Tomorrow morning," I said. "Your first interview with Mrs. Martinez is at 7 a.m. Your second interview with the Johnsons is at 9 a.m. Your appointment with Jennifer Walsh is at 2 p.m. Tonight, Aunt Patricia arrives, and tomorrow evening we have our family meeting. And Tyler is no longer your problem to solve," I said firmly. "Your only job now is to prove that you can make better choices and work toward rebuilding your life without depending on other people to clean up your messes." As we walked toward our front door, Amber finally seemed to understand that this was her moment of truth. She could either rise to the challenge and demonstrate real maturity, or she could continue making excuses and face the full consequences of her destructive behavior pattern. The choice was entirely hers. 3 months later, our entire family gathered in the living room for what had become our monthly check-in meeting. The transformation in our household was remarkable, but the journey to reach this point had required every member of our family to make significant changes. Amber sat at one end of the sofa, wearing work clothes from her job at Mrs. Martinez's cleaning service. Her hands were rougher now, her nails shorter and practical rather than decorative, but there was something different in her posture, a confidence that came from earning her own money and taking responsibility for her mistakes. "I have my final payment," she announced, pulling out an envelope containing $3,000 in cash. "This completes the $14,000 I owe for the college fund." The money represented 12 weeks of working 3 jobs, 60 hours per week, while maintaining a reduced course load at college. Amber had sold her designer clothes, expensive makeup, and every luxury item she had accumulated over the years. She had learned to live on a strict budget and appreciate the value of every dollar she earned. Dad took the envelope with tears in his eyes. "Amber, I'm proud of the woman you're becoming. This couldn't have been easy." "It was the hardest thing I've ever done," Amber admitted, "but it was also the most important thing I've ever done. I finally understand what money really represents. It's time, effort, sacrifice, and opportunity. I wasted so much of that for people who didn't care about me." Mom reached over and squeezed Amber's hand. "Your father and I are sorry we didn't see what was happening sooner. We enabled your behavior by not setting clear boundaries and consequences." The family meeting included everyone who had been part of our support network. Aunt Patricia had decided to move closer to our family and now lived just 20 minutes away. Mrs. Martinez had become like a second mother to both Amber and me. Pastor Williams and the Johnsons had remained actively involved in our family's healing process. "Tyler faced appropriate consequences for his behavior," Aunt Patricia announced. "His community college conducted an investigation based on evidence we provided. He was expelled for violating the student code of conduct regarding harassment and exploitation." His probation officer was also notified about his scheme to defraud Amber of money. 2023. He'll be completing additional community service and financial responsibility counseling as part of his probation requirements. Mrs. Martinez added, "Madison's wealthy parents were contacted about her involvement in cyber harassment. Her family was horrified by her behavior and required her to remove all social media content related to Amber. They also made her write a formal apology letter. The accountability that Tyler and Madison faced wasn't about revenge. It was about ensuring that their pattern of exploiting vulnerable people would have real consequences. I've been working with 3 other girls who were manipulated by Tyler in similar ways, Amber said. We're supporting each other through the healing process and making sure other people know the warning signs of financial exploitation in relationships. Amber had transformed her humiliating experience into an opportunity to help other young women avoid similar manipulation. She was now volunteering with a nonprofit organization that educated teenagers about healthy relationships and financial boundaries. I'm also engaged to someone who actually respects and values me, Amber announced with a shy smile. Everyone in the room looked surprised. This was news to all of us. His name is David Chen, and he's a paramedic who works with the volunteer fire department. We met at the church's community service project last month. He's patient, kind, and he makes me want to be a better person. He knows everything about my past mistakes, including the situation with Tyler. But he loves me for who I'm becoming, not for what I can buy him. He's been helping me prepare for my nursing prerequisite classes. The mention of nursing classes brought us to the next major development in our family's story. I've officially enrolled in nursing school for the fall semester, I announced. Between Amber's repayment plan and the scholarship I received for community service, I can finally pursue my education goals. The scholarship had come from an unexpected source. The nonprofit organization where Amber volunteered had nominated me for a grant that supported people who had made significant sacrifices for their families. Mrs. Martinez has offered me a management position at her expanding cleaning business, I continued. I'll be able to work flexible hours around my class schedule and still help support our family financially. Dad cleared his throat, preparing to share his own news. Your mother and I have some important announcements as well. First, I've been promoted to supervisor at the construction company. The increase in salary means we'll be able to rebuild our savings account and plan for a more stable financial future. Second, we've paid off the second mortgage on the house using money we saved by not having to cover any financial emergencies over the past 3 months. Mom added, my health has improved dramatically since we stopped keeping financial secrets from each other. My blood pressure is back to normal, and I've been able to reduce my anxiety medication. We've also established new family financial policies, Dad continued. Complete transparency about our budget, no loans or bailouts without full family discussion, and shared responsibility for major financial decisions. Pastor Williams spoke up from his chair near the window. What I've witnessed in this family over the past few months is a perfect example of how facing difficult truths can lead to genuine healing and growth. Amber learned that true self-worth comes from personal integrity and hard work, not from other people's approval or expensive purchases. Ginny learned that protecting people from consequences doesn't actually help them grow. And your parents learned that honest communication and clear boundaries are essential components of a healthy family dynamic. The Johnsons nodded in agreement. We've watched this family transform from a group of people keeping secrets from each other to a team working together toward shared goals. Aunt Patricia had the final word about our family's transformation. The most important lesson here is that love sometimes requires allowing people to face the consequences of their actions. True family support means helping each other grow stronger, not enabling destructive behavior. As our guests prepared to leave, Amber pulled me aside for a private conversation. Ginny, I can never fully repay you for all the sacrifices you made for our family over the years. But I want you to know that I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the love and patience you showed me. You already are worthy, I replied. You proved that by doing the work to fix your mistakes instead of looking for an easy way out. I also want you to know that David and I are planning to name our first daughter after you. We want her to grow up understanding the importance of integrity, sacrifice, and standing up for what's right. 6 months later, our family had completely rebuilt our financial foundation and our relationships with each other. Amber graduated from college with a degree in social work and married David in a small ceremony that she paid for entirely with money she had earned. I completed my first year of nursing school with a 4.0 grade average and was awarded additional scholarships for academic excellence. Mom and Dad renewed their wedding vows in a celebration that represented their commitment to honest communication and shared financial responsibility. Tyler's story ended very differently. Without the financial support he had been receiving from exploiting vulnerable women, he struggled to maintain his lifestyle. His social media accounts were eventually banned for harassment content, and he lost his part-time job due to attendance problems related to his legal issues. Madison's wealthy parents required her to complete community service and therapy focused on empathy development. She eventually apologized publicly for her role in cyber harassment and became an advocate for anti-bullying programs. The most meaningful outcome of our entire experience was the stronger relationships we built with our extended community. Mrs. Martinez, Pastor Williams, and the Johnsons became permanent fixtures in our family's life, creating a support network based on mutual respect and genuine care. Today, as I write this story, Amber and David are expecting their first child. Our parents are financially stable and emotionally healthy. I'm in my second year of nursing school and engaged to a fellow nursing student who shares my values of service and integrity. Our family learned that true strength comes not from avoiding difficult situations, but from facing them together with honesty, accountability, and love. The $14,000 that was stolen and eventually repaid represented much more than just money. It represented the value of trust, the importance of consequences, and the power of redemption through hard work and genuine remorse. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is refuse to enable their destructive behavior. Sometimes protecting someone from consequences actually prevents them from growing into the person they're capable of becoming. And sometimes, when everything falls apart, it creates an opportunity for something much stronger and more beautiful to be built in its place. Our family story proves that it's never too late to change, grow, and rebuild relationships based on honesty and mutual respect. The hardest lessons often lead to the most meaningful transformations. I hope that anyone listening to this story who recognizes similar patterns in their own family will have the courage to choose truth over temporary peace, consequences over enabling, and genuine love over misguided protection. Because in the end, the people we love deserve the opportunity to become their best selves, even if that means allowing them to face the temporary pain of learning from their mistakes. What would you do if someone in your family was making choices that were hurting everyone around them? Would you have the courage to stop enabling their behavior and allow them to face the consequences of their actions? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more real life stories about family, relationships, and personal growth. And if you think someone else could benefit from hearing about the importance of accountability and honest communication, please share this story with them. Remember, sometimes the most difficult conversations lead to the most meaningful changes in our lives.